Hello and welcome to the talking point here on the Rangers Review with me, Chris Jack, and my long-time confident friend, co-host, and fellow Rangers fan, Stevie Clifford. Stevie, how are we?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Looking forward to it as usual, and nice to talk about something a bit different rather than boardroom manager result turmoil. So this one should be interesting.
Before we get into it, I have a bit of housekeeping that I now have to do on the show, and it's of course a quick word from our new sponsors here on the Rangers Review. All our shows are now brought to you by S1 Jobs. If it's time to hand in your transfer request, then head over to s1jobs.com and upload your CV today. With thousands of jobs across Glasgow, Edinburgh, and the surrounding area, you'll find one at S1 Jobs. Start your search today. You can start your search after you have watched the talking point here with me and Stevie, as we get into, as you know by now, one of the big issues either on or off the field at Ibrox. And as Stevie alluded to there has been quite a lot of off-field ones. I dare say over the coming months there might be a couple more looking at boardroom developments as things unfold over the next couple of months. But we're here today to talk about the Old Firm game and fans being back at the derby. It has been a long time coming. We have had this situation, this standoff between the clubs for several seasons now. We finally have an agreement, and when Rangers travel to Parkhead, we will finally have Rangers fans back in the stadium. Stevie, as I touched on there, it's been a long time, several seasons now. I've had this standoff. There's been so much said and so much written about it. Is it nice just to have a resolution, or whether you think it should be more, or whether you think it should be less? It's good for me that you can just actually put this matter to bed for a wee bit. Fans are back in. It should have been done before now, but pleased that it's just finally sorted.
Yeah, because I didn't foresee this being as big as it actually turned out to be. Like, the coverage throughout really did criticise it quite a bit, saying how can you have such a massive derby and have no fans, and it became a sticking point for our game that was what was happening. And I've got to be honest with you, I didn't foresee that happening, and I didn't realise that would be how it was perceived. And I've got to be honest with you, when all this happened, I was like, yeah, look, keep them out, keep them away, we'll just do our own thing, they can do their own thing. And given the incidents that we've had over there and things like that, I was like, fine. But my position has changed massively, and I think that's okay. The more that the evidence has kind of came forward and the more experiences we've had without that rivalry, I think it does take a lot away from the atmosphere and certainly the fixture, Chris. So I'm not shy in saying that perhaps my original viewpoint was wrong on it. And perhaps with the whole fixture, our game, etc., and the magnitude of this game, which I believe is the biggest derby in the world, but it can't be if we don't make it and we don't promote it and advertise it as such. So, yeah, I am pleased that we found a resolution as such. But again, that's not how I felt several years ago. So my position, Chris, has changed with it quite a bit. And as I said, I'm looking forward to being. There's no better experience as a Rangers fan than being in the away end at Celtic Park when you get a victory. So my first Old Firm derby was there. My first Old Firm victory was the very first one, and I know what it's like. So yeah, I'm pleased there's a resolution, not only for ourselves and the away support who go everywhere and should be allowed a chance for this one, but also for the magnitude of the game as well. Chris, how do you feel about
it? Like you, I've actually changed my stance on it. I've not gone back and been through my website articles and my newspaper clippings over the years, but I'm fairly sure that at the time when Rangers made the decision and this became the new normal, from the top of my mind, I'm fairly sure I wrote pieces at that time saying Rangers are quite right. They have to look after their own fans first. as many fans as possible within Ibrox for the derby. It gives Rangers a better chance of winning them. But as you have actually seen it in action and we've seen it unfold, you've seen the impact that it's had on the atmosphere and it's had on the fixture. I think it's had on the standing of the fixture. Like you, I've got to come round to this way of thinking of this is actually the best way forward. We need to have away fans in these fixtures. Now, of course, it's not the same size of away support that I've seen. It's not several thousand at Ibrox and 7,000 or so at Parkhead. It's only going to be a couple of thousand. This European allocation, but I think it's a start, and it certainly gives the fixture something back. It's a unique fixture for so many reasons. It's such a concoction of so many different factors, and the away fans make this fixture. They play such a big part in it. So pleased that there is that we have found a solution. As I touched on there, it's not going to be the 7,000 or so that we have seen in previous years, and Rangers have kind of outlined their kind of guidance and what the fans that do have a ticket for Sunday, what they can expect. So they've outlined that you have to be at the Emirates Arena and you'll enter via Springfield Road at 10 in the morning. If you arrive later than 10:30 in the morning, which is still 90 minutes or so before kick-off, you may face a delay and you may risk missing the kick-off. The Rangers do say that they understand that will be inconvenient for supporters. They understand the frustration, but that's the situation that the police and the clubs have had to agree to. After the game, there's a chance of a holdback. Rangers say it could be approximately 25 minutes. You would imagine that would be the case, but they do say that's subject to a decision by Police Scotland. It's similar to what we have seen also in European fixtures, and the Rangers fans travelled in huge numbers to Fenerbahce last week. Travelled in huge numbers across the continent, and we do have these situations of being in the stadium a couple of hours early, being held back, the police searches, the restrictions on what you can take in. How do you think the fans will handle that side of it on Sunday? It's not going to be out of the ordinary. It's perhaps slightly different to what we've seen in this fixture. But do you think those protocols are fair enough, or will we only actually know if they're fair enough come the Ibrox fixture and we see the restrictions and what the Celtic fans have to go through?
So I've been going to the Celtic Park now for, I would say, when was my first trip there? First trip there was 96. And I don't remember ever having to go through the kind of measures that we're going through now, where you're there a good 2 hours before, just having to be safely taken into the ground. There was always cordons off, and you always had your away end, and you were always allowed to come and go as you kind of please. I'm not sure why that's suddenly become such a massive thing. And even with, the return fixture at Ibrox, etc., it's easily cordoned off and you put the barriers up and things like that. I don't understand why we're going to such lengths to ensure that people are put in and stuff. But I was at a Scotland game against Czech Republic during COVID. Was it Czech Republic? What was the one where David Marshall got lobbed from about a mile out? It was a Euro.
Yes, I think that was a Czech, aye.
And I was there about at 9 in the morning because of the protocols that day. So I'm used to having to hang about and wait in these kind of situations. Sunday, I think, will be no different. It works out wonderfully if you get a result and you're kept in half an hour afterwards and you can have a good old celebration with it. But I'm not going to be untruthful and say I do think it's a bit of a inconvenience. I think it's a bit of a pain for the ordinary working supporter. And I'm not overly looking forward to it, getting cattled in, 2 hours beforehand. But it is what it is, and they've decided that's the way. I'm not sure it's overly necessary, Chris. I mean, what's really changed from 20, 50, 10 years ago? In fact, I think it's got milder in terms of the dangers of going to your nearest rivals, home ground, etc. Never had any problems back in the day. I'm not sure it's worse now to be able to be like that, to be honest. But I don't know. I think it's a wee bit of overkill. That's what I would say about it. I think an hour before would be absolutely fine. I'm not sure why they need to go to these lengths. And I'm not one of these people that say, well, we better do it to them when they come over. I would rather we all just got fairer kind of treatment, and I don't see why you're having to go to these lengths. Somebody maybe will explain it to me, that's fine, but it is what it is. But see, in terms of atmosphere and things like that, Chris, do you think that this is going to be better for the product of the game and better for the game overall?
It should be. I think if you look at how the derbies have unfolded over recent years, there has been some big moments. There's been some big goal celebrations. Even just thinking back to last season, the Matondo goal ultimately didn't do Rangers any good in the title race, but that was a moment of big celebration. And in those situations, you'll get Rangers fans who will say you want as many Rangers fans in the stadium as possible to create the best atmosphere and the most amount of noise. And if you have 50,000 there rather than 47 or 45, then that's then better for Rangers. But it's lost that to and fro. It's lost that edge over the years. As we both mentioned at the top of the show, this is a very unique game of football, a very unique rivalry, and it's only unique because of the fans. So you can put 11 guys in blue shirts and green and white shirts and let them go and play football. It's what's round about that makes this fixture great. Now, there's guys within both of these teams who didn't grow up supporting either of these clubs, perhaps don't really understand it. You only understand it once you played in it, and you only understand it once you played in it because of everything that goes into it, the build up throughout the week, the increased media coverage, the fans being in the stadium early, the noise, the colour, the songs, the rivalry between the supporters. That's what makes the Old Firm, as you touched on earlier on, the best derby and the best game in the world. And if you take that away, I think it has lost quite a lot. It's not been the same. I did an interview with a couple of German guys who were actually over for that the Matondo game, and they're looking at the history of the fixture, and they're looking at what makes the Old Firm. And I felt a wee bit sorry for them because they left and they saw that game and they saw Ibrox in those moments, but I don't think they got a true Old Firm experience. And I think with having these fans back, yes, it's only a couple of thousand, but I think it will take us a bit closer to the true Old Firm experience and should give people a bit more of an insight into what this game actually means from a wider point, a Scottish football point. It's the game, it's the selling point. This is why Sky are paying their money, because they want these fixtures. They've not really had value for money. Yes, there's been some good games and some good goals. There's been talking points, been some moments of controversy as well, but they've not had that Old Firm experience, the one that we all know growing up, watching them on the TV, going to them, celebrating, commiserating. They've not had that over years, and I think that's what they will start to get back. And if you look at it on the pitch, how do you expect? What do you actually expect from Rangers? For me, I think it's quite hard to tell because how many times have we been on the morning briefing, or we've done post match shows, we've done our own show, trying to get to the bottom of where this side is and what they can actually do. It's really hard to tell what to actually expect from this Rangers side. They may go and they may thrive under it. They may treat it as a European game, and they may think this is a great opportunity for us. We'll go and we'll play. There's perhaps not as much pressure on us, or they could go there and they could crumble. They could feel the weight of expectation. They could feel the pressure. They know that Celtic are miles ahead of them in the league, and they might just think, just get me out of here. So for me, it's a really difficult one to actually. I think we know what to expect off the pitch. For me, it's quite a difficult one to get into in terms of what can you expect from this Rangers side.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's look, I think let's not kid ourselves on. It's a complete dead rubber. It doesn't matter if it's 13, 16 or 19. We're miles behind and the season is done, which is a clear detriment to our performance this year. And in fairness, how consistently good they've been, unfortunately. What can we expect? Rangers could turn up on Sunday and win 2-0 and on the flip of a coin get beat 3-0. I don't think there's an in-between with this team. I think Barry will have them well drilled, well organised. He'll have them up for it. He'll probably have them better prepared and they'll know far more about the expectations of this game than they would have previously. But, you know, in terms of quality, in terms of performance, I think that unfortunately they are quite a bit ahead of us. And I'm not going to say you get the impression that if they really want to go for it, then they could. But I just think it depends on what kind of resistance we put up, because it's going to be difficult. Going to be backs to the wall at times. You're going to have to dig in. You're going to have to fight. You're going to have to block. And you're going to have to take that Fenerbahce away performance and hope that when they do get through, because Fenerbahce did create chances they missed or Butland saved, we're going to have to survive those moments and then take the ones that we can. We've got players that can hurt them. I think that showed that in January. I think that's quite fair. I think he'll go with the same sort of formation he did against Fenerbahce as well when you're three at the back and you're hitting. But I'm looking for a gritty performance. I think that's what I'll need. I'm looking for the type of performance that when we used to go to Parkhead under Walter Smith and you put in that kind of performance, or indeed Alex McLeish got a couple of really good results there, where you had to dig in and then show your quality at the other end, Chris. So I don't think there's much to gain from sitting here going, we can do this, we can do that, because I think you need to be pragmatic and honest about it and say that, you know, they've got players that can really terrify you and hurt you. We're in a position where we are looking for a major summer revolution. We're looking for a takeover. We're looking for a better quality of player. And if you look at that squad, potentially that 11 that plays on Sunday, there would be very little that would maybe start and going forward next year and things like that in your mind. So what we're looking for a really solid performance. We're looking for as much grit and determination as you can get. You're looking for a backbone, which we've not shown. I've lost count the number of times that we've went 1-0, 2-0 very quickly there recently. And before you know it, you're 3-0 at half time, sitting going, here we go again. Rangers need to avoid that at all costs. And, you know, the likelihood is that Celtic will come really strong and you need to stand up to that. So, but Rangers will get chances. It's funny because, excuse me, it's funny because when you think about that 3-0 defeat at Parkhead earlier on in the season, in the first 10, 15 minutes, they missed three glorious opportunities. Des twice, Rabbi Matondo header wide. So Rangers will get opportunities, and it's about when they do come taking that, because goals, as you know, blatantly obvious, Stevie, as this is, change games, don't they? So you've seen the Hadji effect at that Old Firm at New Year. So, yeah, it's up to Rangers to show that determination, Chris, in terms of being enough backbone and enough will to go and make sure they don't crumble under any pressure. What are you expecting from the performance? Because I'm trying to be realistic and say, you know, we're not going to go there and win 4-0, unfortunately. It'd be nice. But I need to be kind of pragmatic in what I'm saying, because I can't criticise this team for not being good enough, and I don't think they are. But I expect them to go and win on Sunday handsomely. I don't think it'll be like that. Can we win? Yes, I think we can. But it would need a whole lot, and it would probably need Celtic to miss an abundance of chances and things for that to happen. Is that fair?
I think you touched on that January game there. That felt like a day where everything went right from a Rangers perspective, and not a lot went right from a Celtic perspective. It was not the Celtic performance that I expected that day. Rangers, to their credit, were really good. But you look at Rangers in the derby under Clement, and that game felt like a bit of an outlier. That was the best that they had played, the best result, the best performance. Can that be repeated? Time will tell. It was interesting ahead of the build-up to Fenerbahce away. A lot of people saying Barry's not the right man. He's not tactically astute enough for this game. I would feel more confident if Clement was the manager heading into Fenerbahce away. I think if you ask people now, they would be more confident heading into Celtic away with Barry in charge than they would be Clement in charge. Because I'm not convinced that Clement actually had cracked it. I think, yes, he fully deserved that one in January. Not convinced that he had what it takes to go to Parkhead. Now, Barry may well go and be outthought by Brendan Rodgers on Sunday. Celtic may have a better plan. They may be able to exploit Rangers and could easily go on and win the game. But as you've said there, if Rangers go and get a result, as much as you can't really predict it, wouldn't really be a massive surprise because they're just that kind of team. And I think the Barry factor is really interesting. He's spoken a lot about like a character and mentality and knowing what it takes to play for this club, to go and give something back to the fans. He mentioned that ahead of Fenerbahce this week, talking about the celebrations last week and making sure that you go and acknowledge that support that was over in Istanbul, that you acknowledge the time and the money and the effort that they put in. And I think that's, if he can do anything to this squad and to these players, it's perhaps giving them an understanding of just what this football club means, what they've signed up for, and heading into Sunday with the fans back and it being a bit more akin to the derby that we all know, he'll be hammering home that message. I can only imagine he'll be hyped up on Sunday, and as will Billy Dodds, as will Neil McCann, as will Alan McGregor. It's going to be quite a charged dressing room, you would imagine, but come action time, they'll be calm and they'll try and execute their plans. So I think that Barry factor is an interesting one. You've also got to know him and you've seen him as player, you've seen him on stage, you've seen him in press conferences. How do you think he'll handle the derby? And he's spoken quite a lot about what it meant to be Rangers manager against Kilmarnock, what it meant to be Rangers manager in the European game against Mourinho, being Rangers manager in an Old Firm game at Parkhead. If he could get a win on Sunday, that's going to be, with all the great moments that he's had as a player, if he could win on Sunday, that would be right up there in terms of his memories as a Ranger.
I would imagine that Barry would install quite a siege mentality.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the message that is, as soon as the final whistle went against Fenerbahce, that Rangers would be, quickly turning their attention to this one on Sunday. And I think Barry would have been, I don't want to say arrogantly bullish about it all, but there would be nothing left unsaid. I think that's quite clear. And anyone in that dressing room that's not prepared or not ready, or who is worried or wondering where the performance is coming from, would be left in no uncertain terms that wasn't acceptable. So I think Barry's message would have been quite forceful in terms of what he expects and what the club expects, what the fans expect, and what this fixture expects and what you have to do. So I've got no doubts in my mind that Barry will be fired up and have the players fired up for this one. I don't think he would accept anything less. And then when you look at his backroom staff, Neil McCann, Billy Dodds, Alan McGregor, I don't think any of them are shrinking violets, Chris. I don't think any of them are sitting there not giving it absolutely everything. So I don't think there's any chance that this group of players will not realise exactly what this fixture means, exactly what is required, exactly what they have to do, exactly how to perform and what's expected of them, whether or not they can go and do that, which obviously is the ultimate question, isn't it? So it's just a shame that it, excuse me, it doesn't mean anything, because what I'm looking for, weirdly, see the boys that are going to stay, you're looking for your likes of Butland, you're looking for your Souters, you're looking for your Dujon Stellings, your Eaglemans, your maybe Czerny, your Raskin, your Diamandi. We need them to install a kind of mentality and confidence in these games. So we need them to go and experience a victory, know what's understanding. So no matter who comes in, they can take from the last couple of games into the future and take that message and realise and take that kind of determination and performance into from Sunday, from the next one, into coming seasons, because it is a dead rubber. It doesn't mean anything regard to the title, but it means everything to us as a support. There's no such thing as a dead rubber in terms of an Old Firm match. And what I mean is, from the outcome, it's a dead rubber. It's unlikely to mean absolutely anything. But for us and for Rangers and our support, we need to go and do something and start to install a performance level that says, no, you know, we've had these years. This is time for us to start putting our stamp on these games and making sure that even if we get beat, that at least we're putting in a level of performance which isn't a capitulation. It isn't a walk in the park for Celtic. It isn't a training game, as unfortunately so many times it's become. So stand up, put in the performance and show themselves. And it goes back to what Barry's would have installed in them. He'll be expecting absolutely nothing less, Chris. And I suppose, what does it mean? I suppose that's a way to leave this question back to you. But what do you think is there for the last couple of games for Barry, for this team? And what would you like to see in the closing games?
It's quite a strange game to sum up. I think you've done it well there. It almost means everything and means nothing at the same time. It means nothing in terms of the title race. A win at Parkhead, it's not going to reignite Rangers. It's not going to allow them to go and win every game between now and the end of the season and spark a huge moment of doubt and a Celtic collapse. It's, in silverware terms, completely pointless. In terms of, for the support, it still means everything. You touched on it earlier on, the chance to go to Parkhead as a Rangers fan and come away with a victory. Yes, we've been there, and some victories have meant more than others, but it still means so much for the fans. It's still allowing them to go to their work on a Monday morning or to go to school on a Monday morning, to come on our show on a Monday morning and have a smile on their face, and to have those bragging rights, even if it is only for a couple of days, makes you feel better about yourself if you've got an Old Firm win under your belt. So for the support, they're not turning up on Sunday thinking this is only another game. It's just so I can say that I've been here and I can tick off Parkhead. They're going there demanding, as we've outlined over the last half hour, they're demanding all of those traits that you expect to see from a Rangers side. They're demanding that fight, that aggression, but in the right moments, that quality, and they're demanding a victory. They're demanding a performance. That's what these players have to deliver. I think that mental aspect that you touched on there is really important. Think back to Steven Gerrard when he came in 2018. Rangers had such a dreadful record in the derby, had been outclassed, outfought, outplayed. The record spoke for itself. He had to find a way to address that, had to find a way to give that squad the belief that Celtic could be beaten over 90 minutes, and that then allowed them to show Celtic can be beaten at Parkhead. They can then be beaten over the course of a season. And all of those small blocks were put in place, and it allowed Rangers to finally get back to being champions. That's what Old Firm wins can do for a group. It will be a group that will change. There will be a number of new faces within this squad over the course of the summer. But the players that you rhymed off there, the likes of Raskin, Diamandi, Suter, the ones that will be here next season, that will be part of this squad, they need a win at Parkhead. It gives them a reference point. It gives them something to build on when they go back there next season, and it means even more in terms of a title race. It gives them something to hold on to. So I say it means everything and nothing. And if that doesn't sum up Rangers in this season, then probably nothing will. So before I let you go, I have to ask you the hardest question of all. Give us a prediction.
It's funny because I always think of like Rocky 3 when they ask BA when he's about to fight Rocky and he says prediction and he goes pain. Listen, honestly, this could be 3-0 to Celtic and 1-0 to Rangers with a flip of the coin, depending on certain circumstances. I'm not naive enough. I think they're a good side, unfortunately. I think they've got good players. But I also think that anything can happen on any given day in a football game. So you just never know. If Rangers can win it, they will win it 1-0, in my opinion. And it'll be a moment from a set piece or something that wins it. If it goes the other way, I hope at least that we dig in and we don't capitulate like we have in previous games where, like I say, it's you're fine until 30 minutes and then by 38 you're 3-0 down. That kind of thing can't be allowed to happen. So I would dearly hope, especially as I'm going to be in that away end, that Rangers manage to pick something up, and especially as I'm having to leave Saturday night to make sure I'm there on time. So no, I just hope that the players do us proud, and I hope they do Barry proud as well, and dig in and really show a performance, Chris. So that's my thoughts on it. And I'm if you think I'm not going to ask you for a prediction as well, then you're sorely mistaken.
Thank you very much for joining us here on the Talking Point. That's enough. No, I will sit on the fence. I think Rangers. I think you've summed it up well there. They could easily lose this game, easily win this game. They're just that kind of unpredictable, inconsistent side. I do think they've got enough about them to go and kind of outline or can show some of the qualities that we've spoken there. I think the Barry factor gives them something that they can kind of cling on to and something that they can use. So I fancy Rangers to get something from this one. If you're celebrating for a couple of hours after and you're locked in Parkhead, I expect a FaceTime with a scene of celebration. But I'll sit on the fence and I'll go for a 1-1. So time will tell how it unfolds. But hope you enjoy your day on Sunday, everyone, wherever you are watching the Old Firm, whether you're in the stadium with Stevie or whether you're watching from pubs, clubs, at home. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you get what we all hope from it. And hopefully next time we're on the Talking Point, we can make reference to an Old Firm win as we look ahead to the last couple of weeks of the season. And as we touched on at the top of the show, no doubt there will be some more off-field topics of discussion for us to get into once again. So I have to end. I started the show with a plug for our new sponsors here at S1 Jobs. As you know by now, I have to end with a plug for the great content that we have here on the Rangers Review, whether it's the Talking Point with me and Stevie, whether it's Stevie's fan column, whether it's Josh's tactical analysis, all the extra videos that we have on our YouTube channel, and of course the best Rangers journalism across rangersreview.co.uk. If you like what we do, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the website. We really appreciate all your support, and we will see you again soon.